next speaker, he's really nervous. I know he's not good at talking in front of people. He's going to try again anyways. I don't know how he's going to follow that, but, you know, he likes challenges. We started from the bottom again. Nathan Craigfield.
Hello, everyone. All right, so if you were present for the first one, which I know I got some third-timers in here, so shout out to the third-timers, shout out to the second-timers, and for the first-timers, welcome. I'm glad you're here. It's great to see you. So the first time, if you remember, I talked about honesty and how I began holding myself accountable by being honest, right? You remember that? Good. All right, so part of that being honest was I started to see myself for who I really was. I stopped lying to myself, which was a big moment in my life. And this happened repeatedly throughout my life, but just the more and more that I grew, the closer you get to God, the more clearly you can see, just as Haley was saying. So the more clearly you can see yourself and your faults and your flaws and all that. So there's one thing I wanted to hit on before we go into this, I thought this was funny, but George was telling me a story the other day, and he told me, because you know, these talks and stuff like that, people get like this idea of me, and it's funny that Haley ended with the whole "I'm not perfect" thing. I just wanted to clarify something for some people, because I know that there's some people George is telling me that we're thinking like, oh, Nate's this great guy now, Nate's this preacher and all this. Like he said that there were literally people. This kind of blew my mind. That were like, I can't even imagine Nate doing anything wrong. I can't imagine. And look, it's funnier the longer you knew me. Look, Tom, the longer you knew me, you know how funny that is, right? Like, Tom and I go back to high school, so Tom knows for real. Tom's like, I know the real Nate. Like, trust me, he was a bum. Tom will tell you this. All right? You keep it real, right, Tom? Right. All right. So, I just thought that was funny. But if you went back to my high school friends, just like I said the first time, you went to them and told them I was doing this, they'd be just as shocked as those people that George was talking about, being shocked that I used to do the bad things I used to do. Okay? So, like I said, like, no matter how much you drink, okay, to try to cover it up, no matter how much you try to smoke to cover it up, no matter how many friends you try to bring in your life, no matter how hard you try to go into school to cover it up, at some point, whether it's when you go into the bathroom, it might be in the shower, it might be when you lay your head down on your pillow to go to sleep at night, I don't know, but there's some point in your life where it's just you, and you look at yourself, and you realize, hey, like you see yourself for how you really are, and you say, wow, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. We all come to this point in life. And that point is so huge because that's a decision point. And what you do in that moment is gonna guide the rest of your life. Each time you come upon that, you're like, wow, I'm not killing it right now. What are you going to do about it? Okay? So my overall message for tonight, and I think it's both of our message, is that it's one of my favorite phrases. And don't get it wrong. I'm going to explain it because George was confused earlier. But he's a little slow. I know y'all smarter than him. It's, you got to give up. Dan, you like that? But you got to give up to go up, okay? That doesn't mean give up, because, you know, I just talked about perseverance. Don't even think about that, all right? I can see you in your eyes. I want you to say, look, you got to give the bad parts of your life up to go up, to get better, to improve, to get closer to God. You have to give up certain things so that you can go nearer to Him, okay? So my first example with that in my life, and I have 3 that I'm going to run through. The first one I'm going into deep, okay? So you remember last time, for my second-timers and my third-timers, last time I talked about how when I got caught with weed in my room when I was 15 by my mom, and she made me tell my dad about it, and it was just a bad day in the life of Nathan Craigfield, you know. Not one I like to relive or rethink about, but I'll do it for you because I care about you guys. All right? But we're going to rewind even further back before that, okay? So before I got caught, I started smoking when I was 14, but I really got into it when I was 15, and like the more and more over time, I got more and more into it, and I started changing more. You know, I quit the basketball team at school. My basketball talent just started falling off. My grades started falling off. My relationships were worsening. You know, and I came, like I said to you guys, I came to this point where I'm looking at myself and I'm seeing myself for who I truly am, and I'm like, wow, like I used to be, you know, like we talk about, I have the pride issue, you know, so it was even worse when I was younger. So I'm the man, you know what I mean? I'm supposed to be this great dude, and here I am falling off and becoming more and more of a scrub as time goes on. So I'm like, I can't handle this. But at the same time, I didn't have the fortitude, I didn't have the courage to stop doing what I was doing. I started hanging out with different friends. I started getting my other friends to start smoking and doing the bad things that I was doing. I started hanging out with football players who were trying to get me to start selling weed, and I actually considered that. I remember being in my room, and I was like writing down, all right, so if I buy this much for this much, and then I sell it for this much, like I had this whole, like, I thought I was smart. And you know how, like, if you've ever been around somebody that's high and they think they're smart at the same time, that was me, and it was just sad. And I was 15, so you can imagine how dumb I really was, all right? It was a bad situation. So I remember once I got done doing that, I kind of like looked at myself in the mirror and I caught myself, and I remembered like I reflected upon like my brother going to jail for selling weed when I was younger, and just the way that it had negatively impacted my family and the people around me, my friends, you know, who had already gotten in trouble for it. So like it just kind of hit me. That was when I really like saw into myself, and I started breaking down. You know what I mean? And just it started to hurt, and I could feel it. And like I said to people before, it was one of those moments where I feel like God was making my life harder and harder on me. Like I was just falling off in everything because He needed me to learn something. He needed me to come back. Okay. So luckily, I always say that me getting caught with the weed in my room was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Undoubtedly, one of the best things that ever happened to me. So. But the thing about it was, this blows a lot of people's minds, and the parents might be shocked by this. But when I got caught within my room, right, my parents took my phone for a week, and I was only grounded for about 2 weeks. Okay, and the reason for that was because my parents knew it, and I definitely knew it because I was excited that I got caught, like a weirdo, right? And I had friends that got caught with me, and they kept going, you know what I mean? They were like, I had people come. I came to school that Monday or that Tuesday actually, and they're like, you got caught, but you're not actually gonna stop, are you? Like, you got caught, but you can't, like, Nate, you're Nate, you know what I mean? They knew this, the way I was living, they were blown. They're like, you can't actually stop doing that. I was smoking weed before school, man. I was smoking all the time. It was all I thought about. And the reason why I only got grounded for 2 weeks after I got caught was because, like I told you, those moments where I was breaking down. I wanted out, but I just needed a way. And this was finally my way. And my parents knew that. They didn't need to give me some crazy punishment or anything like that. I already knew the lesson. I already had the pain. So I picked myself up and kept going. All right. Now, the next thing I'm talking about leaving behind, because that one was easy, right? Because I struggled with it a little bit, and I kept smoking, like, here and there because of peer pressure, you know. But pretty much, like, I haven't in 2 years, I think, maybe, like, twice in the last 3 years. And so it's just been, that one was the easiest of all the struggles that I had. All right, so the next one is the unchased ways, as I will call it. The chasing girls that I did in high school, you know. And that began, too, around the same age as I was smoking. And this one was a little bit tougher, all right? So the smoking weed was easy because I could really clearly see, like, I hated myself. It was making my life worse. You know, I was becoming a person I didn't like. The girls thing was a little bit hard for me to understand. But if you remember to the first talk, I told you that knowledge changed my life. So reading the Bible, going on retreats, coming to talks like this, knowledge that I gained changed my life, and it allowed me to change myself. Okay? So once I gained the knowledge, I kind of understood, and I started seeing a little bit. God worked with me, because when you pray, this is the important part of prayer. There's certain things in your life that maybe people are telling you are wrong and you need to get rid of. But you got to pray about it if you don't understand. Because you don't want to be that person who comes and just disagrees and wants to argue with everybody because they don't understand why something's wrong. You want to be the person that takes it to God and asks God, you know, can you please explain this to me? Because He will. And He'll do it with joy. And it might be a terrible experience, but He'll teach you anyway, okay? So over time, I started realizing like how I was breaking hearts, you know what I mean? And taking girls away from God, taking my friends away from God. I was doing the opposite of what I was called to do. Okay, my goal, my purpose in life is to bring people towards God. This is pretty much all of our purposes. But I was doing the exact opposite and just pushing people away. Tearing girls down, like just ruining them in school because they couldn't focus. Like, it was horrible, man. I was that guy. You know, like, you're thinking like, was he that guy? I was that guy. Yes, I was that guy. That lied to girls, just everything you could think of. That was me. Okay? But when I came to the conclusion that it was wrong, it was somewhat easy to accept because it started, once again, sinking into my heart. And I'm like, you know what? I can tell that I'm not being the person that I'm supposed to be. This is not how a good Catholic man, a good Christian man behaves in the way that I was behaving. Okay? And that one is a big struggle. And that one took a lot more time than smoking did. But nevertheless, with God's grace and his lessons and His patience, I grew to understand more. I grew to have the power and the strength to fight temptation. Because just like I said before, just because you decide to change, just because you decide to start resisting the temptation, doesn't mean the temptation stops coming. Okay, it's so important to remember, and that's why the perseverance talk was so important. Is because just because you decide that you're going to resist and fight against the temptation does not mean that it's going to stop. If anything, it's going to get worse. So don't plan on it getting easy after that. Like me being like just waking up tomorrow and be like, I'm going to change my life, and then everything's just all sunny days and never rains again. So that's not how it works. Okay, so we got the girls thing down. All right, and then we came to the big one. All right, and the big one was drinking. And my man, my focus, my discipler, his name is Mike Solomon. I don't know if you know Mike, but last year he kind of started off with me about the, he would start challenging me piece by piece about, hey, maybe we should stop drinking or tone it down to only this much, limiting me on like Fridays and stuff like that. And I hated it. I hated it so much because the drinking thing was the one that I always could not remember. I could not like grasp I just couldn't understand why it was wrong. I just couldn't comprehend it because I'm like, it's not hurting anybody else. I'm having fun. It's a great way to bond with my friends. And so it took me a long time. But like I said, that's why you take it to prayer and you ask God, hey, I was smart enough at this point to say, maybe he'll explain to me again, just like he did in times past. Maybe he'll teach me why it is that he wants me to get rid of this. And this is one of my favorite stories. Okay, it sounds a little crazy, but just bear with me. All right, so I continued with the drinking. I was going on and off. I'd have like good weekends, bad weekends. You know how it is. And we got to a point where I went to Lithuania this past June for a month with the Army. It was Army training. We sent cadets all over the world to different countries to work with other militaries. So I went to Lithuania, and when I went to Lithuania, I had like I feel like it was kind of like I overreacted to certain things, but it just, for some reason, I was just always stressed out. I was always having a difficult time. Like every day was a difficult day to get through, and I knew when I woke up that it was going to be tough, but I prayed more, and I was in the Bible more in Lithuania than I'd ever been in my entire life. Okay? So God kind of like made my life more difficult, but he got me to talk to him more, to grow closer to him than I'd ever been in my entire life. Okay? Through this difficult time. Now the beautiful part is we weren't allowed to drink, right? Of course. The Army doesn't want you drinking in a foreign land because you make them look bad. Especially college kids going, you already know. So we're in Lithuania. So what did we do? We drank, right? So we go out, and we're in this town, not even the capital Vilnius. We're in this other town that we stayed in for a night. And we go out, and we're drinking. We're having a great time. We're on top of the bar. It was like on a rooftop. It was sick. It was an awesome experience. I see. I'm gonna get to where it was wrong, but it was an awesome time. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I mean? Like it was pretty sick. I can't act like it wasn't fun. Okay. So we're on the rooftop. We're having a good time, right? But when we were getting ready to leave this particular bar, one of our guys, we had that guy in the group that you just kind of were like, man, I wish he wasn't here right now. It was that guy in our group, right? And this guy got us in trouble. He like broke the paper towel dispenser or something. So we had Lithuanian guards coming out because the mall cops were coming out like, you can't leave, you can't leave. They couldn't speak English. We couldn't speak Lithuanian, as you can imagine. So we're sitting here in this situation like, man, what are we going to do? We're all outside. My man's detained upstairs, okay? And of course, now we're just getting more and more stressed out, more and more worried. Like, what do we do? Do we call our leader? Do we just go back? Do we leave him? Like, we're thinking about leaving him because he was that guy, you know what I mean? But, Army says don't leave anybody behind, so that's what we're trying to stick to, So we get back, finally, we get ready, right? And my man comes out. They had to pay him like $250 or something for a paper towel dispenser. And we get back to the room. My roommate's throwing up. I'm stressed out, and I'm realizing it was finally at this point when I get back to my room and I'm listening. I'm falling asleep to the sound of the guy I was asleep with, one of my good friends. I still love him, Cadet Dean. He was throwing up in the bathroom, right? And I'm laying there, and it finally hit me. I came to this realization. I feel like God really spoke to me in this moment. And what he said was, this is when he finally explained the drinking thing. And it was just like, I'm going to paraphrase what Jesus said to me, okay? So just imagine that this is Jesus talking to me, all right, in this terrible time of my life. So God was like, Nathan, you really started talking to me a lot more lately, and I've been talking to you more as well, and I really like it. And I think you've been really thriving off it. Things have been going well. Like he's like, things have been going well between us, And he said, but you realize that when you drink, and when you're drunk especially, that's what I'm mainly talking about, when you're drunk, you don't talk to me anymore. Everything that you learn through me, you stop doing. The way that you're bringing people back to me, you're pushing them away when you do that. And it was finally in that moment that I fully understood. And I said, now I understand why he had people telling me, hey, you got to stop living this way. You got to stop doing this. The reason was because he said, you know what, I want to talk to you all the time. And this is the type of love and mercy that Haley hit on, is that he wants to talk to you all the time. And that's why if you're not talking to him now, if you have no regular prayer life, you feel that emptiness. And that's what it's about, is that God wants to talk to you. God wants to be a part of your life. He wants to be the main focus of your life. And he finally was for me. But the only time he wasn't was when I was drunk. And that's why he had to do all that take me to Lithuania to teach me, you don't need to get drunk like this, because you see how happy you are when you're doing the right thing and you're being the right person and you're bringing people back to me? He said, this will fulfill you. Not that drunkenness, not chasing girls, not smoking weed. All right? So that was a beautiful lesson. It was a tough moment, but overall it was a good one. Okay, so this is one of my last things. Scripture. We're getting into the Bible, right? My favorite book. All right, and if you came to the first talk and you're not reading the Bible yet, you're a scrub, and I'm disappointed in you. You need to start reading the Bible. We're talking about that. All right, it's important. Like I said, my knowledge grew when I started reading the Bible. When Jesus explains to you why things are wrong, it's a whole new ball game. That really changed the whole. My aspect on chastity was reading Sermon on the Mount, like I said, Matthew 5-7, and reading why Jesus thought that living that way was wrong, as opposed to hearing why just my religion teacher thought that it was wrong, or the priest I had in high school, stuff like that. So anyways, Galatians 5, verse 13 says, "For brothers, you were called to be free, but do not use this freedom as an opportunity to satisfy the desires of the flesh, but instead, through love, serve one another." Okay? Now this freedom is a wonderful thing. And we always, as you know, in America, we value freedom, right? It's like our favorite, okay? So we value freedom. We fight for it. We fight for freedom. We're big on freedom, okay? And what I want to take you back to is John chapter 8, when Jesus says, you know, one of the favorites is, the truth will set you free, TJ, right? That's what he said. The truth will set you free. But before that, he says, if you were one of my disciples, okay? And I think that everybody in here claims to be Catholic, Christian, whatever it is. You claim to be a follower of Jesus Christ. And Jesus says, and he says it so plainly, this is one of my favorite parts, and it drives me crazy when people try to like disagree with this. But he says it plainly. If you are my disciples, then you will abide in my word. You will follow my commandments. You will do the things that I require you to do. Okay? And he says, and if you do that, then the truth will be in you, and the truth will set you free. You guys are good, man. You can remember some good stuff. All right, so the truth will set you free. Now I want to bring it back one more time. You remember when Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So when he says the truth will be in you, Jesus is saying, just like he says in John 15, remain in me and I will remain in you. He says, I will be in you. When he says that, if you are my disciples, you will keep my commandments, and I will be in you, and I will set you free. And then the people that he's talking to in this time, they say to him, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. We were never slaves. Like, what are you talking about? We'll be free. And he says that anybody who sins is a slave to sin. Anyone who sins is a slave to sin. But if they are freed by the Son of Man, then they will indeed be free. And he is the only way to do that. And just like she said about surrendering to his love, surrendering to his mercy, go back. Pick yourself up. If you're not where you're supposed to be, which none of us are, pick yourself up. Go forward tomorrow. Stop wasting time. This is one of the biggest problems we have. We're always just like, yes, George, good call. I almost forgot this. This is one of my favorite parts we were talking about, right? He likes when I do that. He likes it a lot. So, oh my gosh. All right, so check this out. What I forgot to say. This gets me hyped. What I forgot to say was, not only did I give up those things, when we're talking about the smoking, the girls, and the drinking, but I gave up those things in my prime to do them. And I always stress this to my guys, and I stress this to people that I'm talking to, is that, do you understand? Because people come up to me and they'll be like, oh, especially my friends from home, I can't even stand it. I can hardly bear to listen to them, and you know it too. They said to me, Nate, well, I'm not you. I can't do that, or this and that. And we are all, like we said, we all claim to be Christians. We claim that, Jesus Christ came, suffered under Pontius Pilate. He was born of the Virgin Mary, right? He was crucified, died, rose again on the third day. We all say that. We all read the same book, the Holy Bible. And we say that we believe these things. And so we're all called to that same holiness. We're all called to follow Jesus' commandments as he asks us to. And he wouldn't ask you to do something if he wasn't going to enable you to do it. So everybody is called to do this. And I always stress this because I know I had this hypothesis in high school. I thought it was great. I was excited. And it was true. Is that your junior year, and I'm a junior, I always say that your junior year in high school and college is the prime time to chase girls. Because when you're a junior, that's when you're closest to the seniors, but, underclassmen just fall for you. You know, it's just an easy game. Other classes just fall for you, right? That was my, but you know what I'm talking about. So, it's an easy game at that point, right? No, it's over here. Yeah, he's feeling right. He's like, yeah, he's right. He's right. So, I always stress that to people is that, look, I'm going to be 21 in the summertime. Now's the perfect time for girls. I'm better looking now than I've ever been. You know what I mean? I've never been prettier than this. Look, it's only been up. I'm peaking right now. You know, if anything, it might get worse from here, so I should really take advantage of the time. I've got family encouraging me to live that way. I got friends encouraging me to live that way. But I gave it up in my prime to do so. And that's the important part to remember. Is that I gave it up in my prime. And we have so many people, me and Tom talked about this before, that say, you know what? I can live this way now, but when I'm older, I'll be religious and I'll do this and that. Or when I'm older, that's when I'll do it next week. Or maybe next semester I'll start going to Mass. You know? Maybe senior year I'll start doing this. Maybe when I'm older I can read the Bible. No, do it now. Do you understand? Like, we're always about greatness. That's all we talk about is greatness and being great and trying to be the best version of you can be. That's what these talks are all about, is being the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And you understand that great people do great things, and they do the difficult things. And the difficult thing is to give it up in your prime. Anybody, look, they always say, like, oh, I'll be chaste, or I'll only be with one woman when I'm married. Well, how do you feel proud of that? Like, what's the accomplishment in that? Just like Jesus said when he was talking about loving your enemies. He's like, anybody can love their friends. He said, even bums, even the worst people alive are nice to their friends. You know, he says anybody can do that. He said, love your enemies. Then you're proven to be children of God. So that's what I'm trying to tell you to do today, is to give these things up, to search God in your prime, in your youngest state. Do you know how motivating it is? I remember I started talking to